Welcome in to the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, outstanding defensive back in his playing days in East Carolina, culminating with that illustrious team in 1999. And Kevin offers his insights on Pirate Radio Network as his schedule permits. And Kevin, been quite a while, long time no see, so to speak. And the Pirates last played on a Thursday night, mid-October, with a victory over Tulsa in Greenville, and a very thorough performance by the offense that night. And Caden Hauser with 300 yards, got some deep balls to Anthony Smith, stretched the defense, got the running game going. A lot of very positive factors coming out of that game for East Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, Caden kind of do this throughout the year. When he's on, he's really, really good, one of the best in the country. And he was on. He was able to, as you mentioned, hit Anthony Smith a couple times, a couple deep balls, got Yannick involved a little bit, got Brock involved a little bit, was able to spread the football out, spread it around rather, and the tight ends had some catches. But the biggest thing you said there was the resurgence of the run game. And we saw, a little bit of this in the Tulane game with TJ Engelman kind of coming into his own. He averaged 4 yards a carry that game, did the same again in this game. I think he had 10 carries for 40 yards. But he has emerged as kind of, one of the top guys. So London Montgomery and TJ Engelman and Marlon Gunner, TJ and Marlon are kind of, B1 and B1 and B2, and London is A right now. And so they've got those three going. We haven't seen much from Parker Jenkins. I'm not sure that we will based on the way these guys are running the football. But to get that run game going, and we talked about this on the air, this was probably London's best game by far, and it's probably because of the resurgence of the emergence of TJ Engelman, because you got a guy like that pushing you. It's going to make you play better to make sure you get some carries. So we talked to London after the game. He kind of said, "Hey, TJ's been playing well. He deserves to play." And just basically said I had to step my game up. So offensively, it's hard to complain with what they did out there. They were guys were catching passes. Balls weren't hitting the ground very often. We were efficient through the air. Hauser was on par with his passes. So a really good offensive outing. And even the kicking game stepped in and was solid with field goals and such. So good offensive game for the Pirates.
Yes, it was. And credit to Nick Mazzy, the place kicker for the Pirates. He was special teams player of the week after that Tulsa game. And we mentioned it at the close of the last Bonesville pregame show that, we've had some adventures that we've talked about in recent seasons in regard to the place kicking. And thankfully, that facet of the game is doing what it's supposed to do this year.
Yeah, he went through. I guess he started game one and then either tweaked something or something the coach didn't like about what he did in week two during the week, and then we saw Conrad come in and kick some. But ever since then, it's kind of been back to Mazey, and he's been doing well. And so glad to see him step up and then kind of take on that role. And it's one of those things you don't have to worry about, right? Like all last year, we had to worry about the kicking game. Just for whatever reason, Conrad was just kind of off and never seemed to kind of get it going consistently. And so now this season, you line up for a field goal, you feel pretty good about making it. And it's good to have that feeling because the Pirates have had some great field kickers over the years. And to get back to, not worrying about kicking field goals is a good feeling to have. I'm a Cowboy fan, right? And Cowboys pass midfield. They know Aubrey can make a field goal. So I'm not saying Mazzy's there, but it's good to have that feeling that, he goes out there, there's a good chance he's going to make it.
It really does help when that scoring range is kind of a sure thing in terms of the offense being that second option. Kevin, the game at Temple, the weather looks pretty good. I think it's going to be partly sunny and high in the mid to upper 50s, and probably a little cooler than what the players are used to in Greenville or throughout this season. But I remember a game in 2014, and I'm sure you probably do too. East Carolina went to Philadelphia to play Temple. They had not played the Owls since 1995, but when East Carolina joined the American Conference, they began playing Temple, of course, on a regular basis. And East Carolina went into that game ranked number 21 nationally. They were 6-1. They had a 70-41 win over North Carolina in Greenville that year. I think Lincoln Riley was the offensive coordinator at ECU at that time, and just had been very effective at times. I want to say maybe South Carolina was the only loss at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, the weather was just really something that the Pirates weren't prepared for. 46 degrees, the wind 15 miles an hour, and it was raining.
That's right.
And Ruffin McNeil admitted later on, they didn't take any cold weather gear. They didn't have the usual assortment of gloves and thermal undergarments and that type of thing. And I remember a player, it was a back for the Pirates. They had the heated benches, and he was just sprawled on that bench, getting all of his body surface on that heat that he could possibly get.
Right.
And 5 lost fumbles. The conditions just contributed to being able to hold on to the football. East Carolina had a 428 to 135 advantage in total yards, but the turnovers were such a factor that day, and Temple won 20-10, and they won the next 5 games with the East Carolina Pirates. And East Carolina has recovered to win 4 straight in the series, and they lead the series 12-9. But Temple is a much different team than the team that East Carolina beat decisively in Greenville last year. They've got a new coach, Coach Keeler. Their quarterback has not thrown an interception. And so I'm glad the weather is going to be good. I think it was such a deciding factor that particular year in 2014. But Temple's going to be a challenge, no doubt, on Saturday, playing at home.
You mentioned 2 games, Al, that bring back memories. So, of course, the 2014 game, as I was doing that on the radio, but the 1995 game was my true freshman year. And I can remember, I wasn't traveling that year. I was redshirted, and I can remember watching it on television. And the late Morris Foreman had a big-time game. He was making plays left and right. And the Pirates go down to Philly and win that one. It's one of those games. If you remember Morris Foreman, you remember the Temple game in '95.
Yeah.
So he was. I mean, at that point, he was returning punts at about 250 pounds because coach couldn't trust anybody else to catch him. I think he had an interception that game. Like, he was just playing lights out. So it was really cool memory for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2014. Gosh, I mean, that was a year that the Pirates were planning on winning the conference championship. Everything was going well. Card and those guys were just, lighting it up, as you said, put 70 on Carolina. And yeah, the weather was awful. I mean, I was there that day, in Lincoln Financial Field or whatever it was called then, but in the stadium where the Philadelphia Eagles play, and cold, icy rain. It was just totally unexpected. Not that we didn't think it was going to be cold. Probably like the Pirates think about right now, 50s, 60s, whatever. And I don't know if it was a sudden drop or what have you, but it just was nasty. And as you mentioned, Pirates moved the ball up and down the field, and for whatever reason, just kept fumbling. And whatever reason, obviously it was wet and cold. They just kept fumbling the football, and it was extremely disappointing because that was not a Temple team that was good enough to beat the Pirates. The Pirates beat themselves that day. That their lack of ability to hold on to the football and their giving up to the elements is what beat them. But yeah, it's a great memory you bring back there. But yeah, fast forward into this season. This is a Temple team that's scoring almost 34 points a game. Defensively, they are giving up 26 a game, so there's points out there to get. But this quarterback Evans that you talk about, he's 21 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, about 1,600 yards passing, just extremely efficient, completing about 65% of his passes. But 21 touchdowns to no interceptions, that's unheard of these days because, to have that many touchdown passes, you're slinging it. And to throw the ball that many times without getting interception. I'm sure he's had some luck. I'm sure there's been some balls guys have stepped in front of him and they dropped or what have you. But that's an impressive statistic. I mean, if you think about it, Howe's just had a really good season. And he has half the touchdown passes. He has 10 touchdown passes to Temple's quarterback's 21. So that's impressive. And it's not like they're only scoring via the air. They have 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. So they're also able to do that. But there's 5 different receivers with at least 2 touchdown catches. So he spreads the ball around. I think the leader has 6. So they are efficient offensively. They are talented offensively. And as you said, they're a much different team than the Pirates saw last year in Greenville. And, on the road versus Temple is always hard. They consider themselves Temple tough. They take on that city of Philadelphia mentality. They're going to be a hard-nosed team. And this will be a much tougher game than Pirate fans would have thought, several weeks ago in the season. They've played well as of late, getting some tough wins. And they've really beaten everybody that they should beat. They have a couple, some losses at teams like Oklahoma and such, but the teams that they line up against in our conference that they were maybe it was a toss-up like the Tulsa game, they found a way to win that game. So this will be a tough game for the Pirates.
Yes, it will. Coach Blake Harrell noted that East Carolina did have an advantage in terms of prep time for this game, these 16 days between games for East Carolina. So they've been kind of focusing on Temple for 2 weeks. And Temple won an overtime game with Tulsa this past Saturday. So they're just getting their attention early this week on preparing for the Pirates. And that's a factor Coach Harrell feels like in favor of ECU.
Yeah, they had back-to-back close ones with UTSA that they won, and then Navy that they lost by 1. Then that blowout win against Charlotte, and then the game against Tulsa in overtime. So they've been battle-tested. Through that span, I would only say Charlotte maybe was the quote-unquote easy game. So they played some tough conference games, and they found a way to win most of them, and they're sitting in good shape. But, yeah, anytime you have almost 2 weeks to prepare for a team, you should be ready. And the thing about being ready for a coach, it doesn't just mean being ready for what you've seen on film. It means being ready and being able to adjust to things you haven't seen on film. And that's the thing that, as we talk a little bit about my sons and playing high school football, a lot of high school coaches, they all watch film. But a lot of them, if they see something new on game day, can't adjust. And so that's the job of Coach Josh on defense and JDB on offense, is that when the team comes out and does something different, you got to be able to react. You got to have, all the arrows in your bag to be able to come out and do something different. So if offensively the Pirates come out and they see a different front or a different coverage or something different from Temple, that's when they have to be ready to make those adjustments and go to their man beaters, go to their zone beaters offensively. And that's what 2 weeks does for you, because it allows you to go back and reteach, reassess all things you have going on offensively, so your tool bag is full. Same thing defensively. If they were to come out and start running the triple option that we've never seen from them, we've seen it at Army, we've seen it other places. Coaches got to be able to make some adjustments and be able to play that. So I say all that to say that's what 2 weeks does for you. It allows you to reload and get ready. And so nothing should surprise you. Of course, they always can run some trick plays or what have you. But I think the Pirates definitely have the advantage in terms of their readiness to play. However, there's something to be said for the continuity of playing every week, especially every week on the same day, on Saturdays or whatever. And so it'll be nothing for Temple to come back out as they do every Saturday and be ready to play. So I wouldn't necessarily just give the advantage to East Carolina because of the time, but in terms of preparation, they should be the most prepared team.
Coach Blake Harrell said that Temple could easily be 6-2 right now and unbeaten in league play, talking about that Navy game. From what he had stated at his news conference Monday, Temple apparently could have put the ball in the middle of the field and kicked a field goal. If they had managed things differently at the end of that game, in which case they would be unbeaten in the league and would be bowl eligible. But as it is, they are seeking to become bowl eligible Saturday against the Pirates. And it's a unique situation for ECU from the standpoint they have not played a daytime game this year. They didn't play on a Saturday in the month of October. And so both of those factors are going to be something new, but I know coaches prefer to play earlier for the most part on a Saturday because you don't have to worry about that downtime during the game, especially I think when you're playing on the road. You get up, 2:00 allows a normal time for breakfast, and you have your meetings, and you get ready to play.
Well, it used to be when there weren't so many games on television, there was no, each conference didn't have their own television network, and ESPN didn't have ESPN Plus, where every game you could get it on the internet. It used to just be, you were on certain channels or you weren't, right? You might be on, Fox Sports one Saturday, but for the most part, you were on NBC, ABC, CBS, or ESPN 1 or 2, and that was pretty much it. And so what would happen would be the mid-afternoon games, the 3:30, 4:00 games, those were the big-time games, and then the nighttime primetime games. So if you were playing at noon, that's because nobody was watching. It wasn't going to be on TV. Nobody was paying attention. And so the Pirates had a lot of games in those lean years at 12 o'clock, and Pirate fans were really upset about it because, they didn't get a chance to tailgate and so on and such. But yeah, and so now that's all changed. You're on TV for every game. It may not be a primetime game, but you're on TV for every game. And then now you have games all during the week. You used to only have Thursday night games. And so it's really changed. And so it's just wild to say, through 7-8 weeks, the Pirates haven't had a game in the daytime because that used to be the norm. You used to be excited about a nighttime game. And now every game's been at night. So this will be a little bit of an adjustment for the guys to get to the stadium. As you said, get up, have regular breakfast, go to your meetings, get to the stadium and play, and your game will start and finish in the daylight. I mean, that's unheard of this season, right? And so, and you mentioned it earlier about being able to see the football. I mean, that counts for receivers, defensive backs, punt and kickoff returners. You see the ball so much better in the daylight. You just do. Unless there's shadows on the field, you're going to see the ball much better in the daylight. So, neither team will have an advantage, but this being the first time the Pirates have been able to play in the daytime will be definitely different. And so I'm sure the guys are excited about that, and they will, get home at a reasonable hour, right? A lot of times when you're on the road and you're playing night games, gosh, you get home in the wee hours of the morning the next day. So the Pirates won't have to worry about that. Just wake up and get ready to play football.
And then East Carolina, as you mentioned, with more or less conventional playing time on Saturday. I know Steve Logan said the ideal time for him to play a college football game was 1 p.m. on Saturday. That didn't happen a whole lot. East Carolina, as you mentioned, they played a lot of weeknight games at one point, and they considered it good for the exposure for the program. East Carolina has certainly gotten some good exposure for the program with a number of Thursday night games on ESPN, 3 Thursday night games on ESPN, and then a Thursday night game on the ACC network as well. But we're seeing, and Coach Harrell mentioned it this week, we're seeing it seems like the offense is building, and they're kind of learning their capabilities and utilizing their weapons. And defensively, I think that unit is doing good things as well. And they did allow, I think, 27 points against Tulsa, but not a lot of those points were meaningful in terms of the outcome. East Carolina got control of that game pretty early. And challenge coming up at Temple. It's going to be good to watch some East Carolina football. It's been a while. And we'll go to that Bonesville tradition, Kevin. Kevin's keys to the game.
Well, you teed me up earlier talking about the Temple game in 2014 with the turnovers. And so anytime you go to a place on the road in conference playing a tough opponent, you have to take care of the football. So the team that wins the turnover battle, we'll start with that one. You can't afford to go there and turn the football over, and you got to take the football away to give your offense more opportunities. So start there. Secondly, we've talked about this quarterback for Temple and how he's so efficient and has been making plays through the air. The secondary for the Pirates has struggled. It's been the weakest part of the defense, and a lot of it is missed assignments, guys just not being where they're supposed to be. Had some injuries, at corner and in different places, and so they're going to have to fill in guys. And I think Tamir Brown is really the only guy back there with any significant experience, and that has been playing well. And so, 21 touchdown passes, 5 guys with 2 or more touchdown receptions. They're going to have to be much better in the back end back there against Temple, not giving up any deep balls, big plays over 20 yards. Make them catch the football in front of you and make tackles. There was one long one in the Temple game where we just missed a tackle. You've got to find a way to get guys on the ground if they make a long catch. So that's another huge thing. And then offensively, continue what we're doing running the football. I think that's been the best thing for Caden Hauser in the passing game is the emergence of running the football versus Tulane and Tulsa. So they've got to figure out a way to continue to do that. I love TJ Engelman Jr., what he's doing. He's pushing London Montgomery, and Marlon comes in there and runs hard. So you get the run game going early, establish that run, maintain the ball, maintain the clock. You can kind of control this ball game. So find a way to take care of the football, play better in the back end, and be able to run the football. I think wins this game.
Very good. Kevin, appreciate the insights as always on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast, and look forward to talking with you next week.
Appreciate it, Al.